Now with breaking news, this is Fox 25 News at 4. Complete New England news coverage.
These two Boston police officers were shot by a man wearing body armor who was armed with 2 weapons. This afternoon, we can report these veteran officers are expected to survive. The suspect, though, is dead, killed in a shootout with Boston police.
I got to commend the officers for rushing into that building with no fear whatsoever to rescue 2 fellow officers. Anyone who would shoot one of our officers is clearly an unhinged person.
It really is a gripping and heroic story. Good afternoon, I'm Elizabeth Hopkins.
And I'm Chris Flanagan in for Blair Miller today. The very latest of this hour, last night at 10:50, police were called to Gladstone Street in East Boston for a fight between 2 roommates. 33-year-old Kirk Figueroa opened fire, shooting the 2 officers.
And on the left, Matthew Morris, a 12-year veteran of the force. On the right, Richard Santolo, on the job for 27 years. Their fellow officers, as you heard, pulled them out of harm's way and used tourniquets to stop them from bleeding out. Tonight, the big question here is, why did the suspect do this?
And we have live team coverage, beginning with Fox 25's Catherine Burcham live outside Boston Police Headquarters. And Catherine, police called the use of force by his officers justified.
Well, that's because investigators say Kurt Figueroa was armed with a knife, a tactical rifle, and was also protected by body armor when officers walked into the hallway of that apartment. And police say Figueroa very quickly opened fire.
There is no question that many of the officers involved acted heroically.
2 heroes recovering tonight. Officer Matthew Morris and Officer Richard Santolo, after police say they were met with a hail of gunfire when they walked through the door of 167 Gladstone last night.
This was a ferocious firefight, as far as I could tell.
Police say a man called 911 complaining his roommate, Kurt Figueroa, was attacking him and armed with a knife. When police tried to speak to Figueroa, investigators say Figueroa opened fire with a tactical rifle, shooting officers Santolo and Morris several times. The commissioner says their fellow officers put their own lives at risk to drag the officers to safety and administer first aid to stop their bleeding. Investigators say they had no choice but to return fire at Figueroa.
We had to neutralize the threat. He chose to use deadly force, and when someone's going to use deadly force, we're going to respond appropriately.
9 other officers were also treated for minor injuries and stress. Now, despite the fact that Figueroa was armed and wearing that body armor, police say they don't believe this was a planned ambush. Coming up at 5, more on that and more on the moments leading up to the 911 call that brought police to that apartment. We're live at BPD headquarters. I'm Catherine Burcham, Fox 25 News.
You know, all day we have worked to uncover information about the dead suspect, Kirk Figueroa. Police say that he was wearing body armor and had a tactical shotgun. He lists himself as the founder of a private security company with experience in private investigations and bounty hunting. Fox 25's Melanie Basu continues our live team coverage. And Melanie, you spoke to his neighbors to get a better idea of who this guy is.
We did all day today. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth, one neighbor describes him as, quote, a tough guy and a wannabe cop. And neighbors tell us that there was an argument inside one of these apartments, and it all had to do with heat. Neighbors tell Fox 25 Kirk Figueroa has been living here for a couple of months now. We've learned Figueroa is a constable for the city of Boston since July of this year.
He seemed like a nice guy.
A nice guy who had a license to carry in Florida, but it expired in February. Figueroa was also in the Army Reserve from February 2003 to 2011. An acquaintance tells Fox 25 the 33-year-old would travel back and forth from New York to Boston. He lived in the Boston area so he could, quote, expand his business, where he wanted to open up some sort of a security and private investigation company.
I want to be cop car. Blue. It had constable written all over it.
All I remember is the Bales something on the side of the car.
Neighbors tell us the car also had, quote, bail runner written on it. They were always confused by what Figueroa really did for a living.
He was just out there washing his car. I didn't really get any weird feeling from him.
And most of the neighbors we spoke to here tell us the same story. They would just say hi to him, and that was the extent of it. And neighbors tell us they would always see him keep to himself, never with really family or friends. Coming up at 5 o'clock, we're going to get into details about what happened in that apartment. For now, we are live in East Boston. Melanie Basu, Fox 25 News.
And Eastie residents are still coming to grips with the violence that rocked their neighborhood last night. Fox 25's Vanessa Welch is here with reaction from neighbors who heard the gun battle.
Chris, residents say this is a normally quiet area, but just before 11 o'clock last night, it suddenly sounded like a war zone. Listen to this. Those are just a few of the gunshots heard on Gladstone Street last night. Some neighbors say they ducked for cover as police and paramedics raced into this area. Others were told by police to shelter in place. Streets around the shooting scene remained locked down until after midnight. Overnight, Mayor Marty Walsh said the violence is shocking for this neighborhood. And residents we talked to say they were stunned and they were terrified.
It was just police cars, one right after the other.
And I heard it and I was like, that's gunshots. And then as soon as I said that, all the police started coming up the street.
It was rapid. It wasn't like just like one at a time, like separated by seconds. It was like pop, 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 pop.
They had like this cement step and I hid inside the cement step because I was like, yo, get in there because if gunshots, they're not going to go through cement.
Today, neighbors have been walking by the crime scene on Gladstone Street. Some are stopping by to say thank you to the officers who were still there as the investigators continue to process the home for evidence. And officers in East Boston are receiving well wishes from across the country. Their messages of support on social media and other local departments are also sending food to the district. We'll have much more on this big show of support for you ahead on Fox 25 News at 5. For now, we're in the newsroom. Vanessa Welch, Fox 25 News.
Now, a former transit police officer hurt in the Watertown shootout back in 2013 sent messages of support on Twitter. Dick Donahue wrote this morning, hoping the fight continues and wounded officers fully recover. Stay strong, Boston Police. #Boston. Now, I spoke with Donahue late this afternoon. What he had to say about hearing the news ahead, all new at 5.
And within the last hour, Governor Charlie Baker landed at Logan Airport from a trip overseas. He released this statement to us shortly before touching down. It reads, Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito are shocked and saddened to learn of last night's horrific incident. Their thoughts and prayers are with the police officers and their families. We are speaking with the governor on Beacon Hill right now. We'll have that for you ahead during our live coverage.
There's been a major show of support, as you might imagine, for the Boston Police today, especially at the district office in East Boston, where these 2 injured officers work. That support comes from the people of Boston and well beyond. Fox 25's Jim Morelli is live in East Boston with how total strangers, Jim, are standing with our men and women in blue.
Yeah, they sure are. It only makes sense that those who know what you go through on a daily basis are with you when times are bad and they show solidarity. But you're right. It's also people who are not police officers who are coming out and showing support. And so it has been today for the Boston Police Department, especially this branch over here in East Boston. We've been monitoring Twitter all day, and it's safe to say there's been an absolute outpouring of support for the Boston Police Department from other local police departments. Just a couple of examples. From Cambridge Police, we are praying for our brothers. From all the way out there in Holliston, our thoughts and prayers are with all the Boston Police, especially the 2 officers involved in tonight's, of course, last night's shooting. In addition, a steady stream of nutrition has been coming into the Boston Police Department's Eastie Division over here. Neighbors, businesses, complete strangers bringing in that universal way of saying thank you. What did you bring in? Why?
I brought food because the police do a wonderful job for the community.
What did you think about what happened last night?
It's terrible.
And tonight at 6 o'clock, there's going to be a peace march beginning over here at the Boston substation here in East Boston. And coming up at 5:30, we will hear more of those tweets from local police departments, as well as more reaction from local residents. Live in East Boston, Jim Morelli, Fox 25 News.
All right, Jim, well, this is one of a handful of Boston police shootings in recent years. On January 8th, Officer Kirk Sokinger was shot in the leg after pulling over a suspected drug dealer in Dorchester. Other officers were able to chase down and arrest Grant Headley without harming him. Sokinger spent 3 days recovering in the hospital. And in March of 2015, Officer John Moynihan was shot in the face during a traffic stop in Roxbury. Other officers in the area shot and killed the suspect, Angelo West. Moynihan survived, and this past March, he received the Boston Police Heroes Award. And just days ago, 2 officers out in Palm Springs, California, were shot and killed answering a domestic disturbance call. Jose Vega was just 2 months away from retirement. Leslie Zarebny just gave birth 4 months ago. A 3rd officer is also wounded. The suspect was charged with murder yesterday. John Felix was arrested after a 12-hour standoff with police.
You know, multiple times today we heard from police and city officials about what it took to save these 2 officers' lives. In fact, Mayor Walsh spoke extensively to the credit of the American Red Cross and the Boston Police Patrolmen's Association for supporting the Red Cross's mission.
Certainly, the Red Cross and blood donation benefited the Boston Police Department last night, and I commend them for wanting to give back to the Red Cross for being there.
There are a number of local blood donation events that are scheduled in the area already. For details, head to fox25boston.com, and you can also donate blood at any time at your local Red Cross. 2 peace marches have been planned in East Boston. The first is at 6 o'clock tonight in front of the Boston Police District A7 station on Paris Street. Another will be held at the same time tomorrow. That one will start at the corner of Bennington and Wally Streets. Now, our coverage of the officer's shot continues on fox25boston.com. You can log on to watch a stream of this afternoon's news conference with Mayor Walsh and Commissioner Evans. Plus, see how support is pouring in for the Boston Police. And stay with Fox 25 for continuing live team coverage of the Boston Police shooting all evening. We'll let you know about any new developments as they happen.
Well, some rainy weather this month has helped pull portions of the state out from an extreme drought. The southeastern part of Massachusetts has improved from extreme to severe drought levels. More than 2.5 inches of rain has fallen since October 1st. However, nearly 40% of the state still under extreme drought conditions. Many spots are more than 9 inches of rain below normal. And just this morning, some of us did indeed get some rain. Fox 25 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz, you're forecasting a little more this evening.
Just a little bit more. There's a front coming on through right now. This isn't going to help the drought any. It's nice to see that there was a small decrease in the extreme drought, but it was less than 1% of the area that got the improvement, even after all the rain we had. But it's better than going the other way, that's for sure. We'll switch over to live storm tracker radar. You'll see some showers back here from the Albany site, and these from our Boston site are Taunton. And I'm going to focus in just with that one right now. And you're going to see hiding behind the 495 here, some yellow coming into view, and we zoom down into it. You can see it there. That's a heavier shower coming in through right to the northwest of 495. It's kind of a little closer so you can see it more clearly. It's right there along 110, and there's Lancaster. There's 495 on the right-hand side of your screen. So there are a couple of showers that mean business out there, but this front's moving fairly quickly. And by 7 o'clock this evening, it'll already be moving offshore through Boston. But your evening drive will have some showers. Not unexpected. We talked about that last night. These will continue to move eastward, and by 9 o'clock, most of the area is clear. By midnight, all of us are clear. Then we talk about the cool air and brisk winds moving in behind it. Details on that straight ahead.
Kevin, thank you. A troubling new report about the Green Line.
Yeah, coming up all new at 4:30, I'll tell you about the audit that's been exposed to speeding trains and how often Green Line passengers are in danger of going off the tracks.
Plus, Donald Trump is in the middle of more controversy. Up next, the allegations of inappropriate conduct he's trying to fight off.
And we will continue to follow breaking news in Boston, where 2 veteran police officers now recovering after being shot last night. The suspect was killed in a shootout with police. We have a team of reporters on the story and bring you any new information as we get it.